Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 19th Pound Ridge Library District Board of Trustees meeting. I'm going to start by doing a quorum count. So when I say your name, please indicate your presence. Bob Bellhouse, Lexi Galley-Cook, Ann Benefico, Mike Clark.
Here.
John Cristiano.
Present.
And Valerie Nelson. Please use microphones when you speak. And then I'll say Rich Levan. No problem. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the October 22nd, 2024 board meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 22nd, 2024 board meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And also for the minutes, if we can recognize that Jenna Wise will not be attending today. And Selena Shen is not here yet, but is intending on being here. Okay, next board meeting, December. So I think the Tuesday is December 17th. I wanted to check if that works for folks so that we stay a little bit away from the right before the holiday weekend. No, Lexi's out. Okay. Does the 18th or 19th work? Are you still 18th or 19th works? We usually do Tuesday or Thursday. Jennifer, is there anything going on? Thank you. You can't do the 18th or 19th? Neither can you? Okay. The 12th is too soon, right? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to recommend that we do December 17th. I know Lexi won't be here at 7:30. Okay. And the other thing I was going to ask about that date, if folks are interested, we usually do a holiday party at our December meeting. So we usually start it an hour before, so that would be 6:30. We usually invite all of the staff, volunteers, as well as I think in previous years, we've invited foundation members. So if folks want to go ahead with that, then we would plan that as well on the 17th. Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So we'll do holiday party starting at 6:30, meeting starting at 7 on December 17th. All right. Next, we have Ken Gilman giving us a building and grounds update.
Good evening. I believe you will have in your packet pricing to remove specific trees, something we discussed the last time, instead of all the trees that are on the driveway and around the property, only those that the arborist said could be problematic.
If everyone is looking for the quotes, it's either in the Dropbox or Jennifer has it projected up on the screen. We don't print everything.
And what I also noticed in the documents, I think, Jennifer, did you cut and paste the essential things and put them in those 3 columns? Because there were 3 bids that were like in the tens of thousands. Okay, so then you just, okay, thank you. That's what I figured you did.
That's
Sorry,
quite
Ken,
all right.
go ahead.
No, that's great. As long as you understand what you're looking at. And then you can decide on all of the 3 people are good tree people. So
better. Yes, I can.
Hello.
If we can't distinguish between or among them, then I think we should just take the lowest bid.
Yes.
The last meeting we had the other two, so Hector was the third one. Okay.
Yes. And I know that he's done some work local, as well as he has done some work at the library or for the library. So it's not like he's a stranger.
And we determined that those items there, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, were the most important.
That's correct.
Things,
Yes.
okay.
The arborist came back again instead of a broad stroke. It was, okay, what do we really need to get done so that tens of thousands of dollars don't have to be spent, and
Okay, thank you.
some tree may have to come down that been here for 100 years. So that's what this is.
So Ken, and I'll ask Jennifer this question too, you both feel comfortable with Hector given previous work?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
As I say, any one of the three would do a good job, but so
Okay.
as
Do we have a
Richard.
motion to hire Hector? Anyone? Mike? Sorry.
I move that we hire Hector to do the work described in the proposal.
Anyone second?
And second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Great, thank you.
okay, the next and last item is just that Tony Lupino and his men, I'm not going to say took away all the leaves because you can never do that, but cleaned up, finished the cleanup really yesterday, the end of last weekend yesterday. The gutters are clean, downspouts, etc., the grounds. Of course, it's going to rain in a few days, and so whatever leaves that are on the trees may come down again, and so he'll be back if necessary. So
Great, thanks,
so
Ken.
ready to go for the winter.
Great.
Any questions?
Thanks, Ken. Okay, next, we have treasurer's report, Mike.
Okay, in any case, so there were several things that happened this month. The first was that I'm checking our balances. Around the middle of November, I found that we were getting below my threshold of about 15,000. I can say thanks. So I made a transfer from our savings to checking to cover that interim. And then upon getting the Dropbox information for the warrants, I also transferred an additional 50,000 to cover what I presume will be approval of the warrants today. Several items for discussion. If you'll notice, this is the first report where I put how much cash is available in the WFA accounts. And so the decision has to be whether we reserve that or then talk to Barry about putting that in another bond. I reached out to him and he said that there is one other bond that may be called in January, at which time we would get the full amount. He didn't mention how much it was for, but I'm assuming that there could be as much as $75,000 of cash starting the new year. And in terms of how we talk about initiatives, the question would be whether to use that for various capital projects or turn it back into bonds. The second discussion, I guess we'll have later, has to do with several threads having to do with a fund balance policy. And you'll be talking about that, or who's going to talk about that? Fund balance policy?
375 versus 4 months. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be consistent, right? Is that what you found, Jennifer? There is an inconsistency there in the policy. So I think we just have to pick one. We can look at it. I don't think that the difference was that huge between the 375 and the 4 months. But we'll pick one and recommend for next time.
As I mentioned in the note that when we had the issue with Signature Bank, we opened up a separate account at Key Bank, which now has about $225,000. And if whatever we choose, then I talked to Kathleen at the Key Bank and she said, just let me know and I can transfer whatever we need to that account in Key Bank and then determine that that is our fund balance restricted fund.
All right, so let's make sure we have on the agenda next month that we'll review your guys' proposal on the fund balance policy.
I just want to say that I agreed personally with Jennifer's recommendation that 1/4 of the annual expenditures her calculations was about 268,000. So I just made a comfortable number. I thought 275,000 would be a good number to be in that account.
Okay. Next in financials is to approve warrants. Does anyone have any questions on the warrants?
Jennifer, I just had a question on the invoice for striping DeMarco. So we didn't use Lawrence Construction. Isn't that the company you had called? And then what happened? Oh, we need to get another microphone. I approved $10,000 for the purchase.
It's a subcontractor of.
Okay. All right. And Modern Marketing. Was that for like the Halloween giveaways? Yes. Okay. That's what. And did they send us a free an Amazon gift card because of, okay. All right.
Yeah, I kind of splurged a little bit because we didn't have Earth Day and we didn't have Harvest Festival. So, and here they are and they're super fun. They were a
Oh,
huge
okay.
hit.
Make a
That's-
motion.
oh,
We buy
I
more
need one.
microphones.
Oh, did we?
In 50 minutes.
Oh.
Wow.
All the kids were telling friends, go and get one. It's addictive. I can't.
Can,
believe it.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, the right click, just so we're going to be used to it, is that 13 a run rate or is that other stuff in there? Because we're starting up.
It's the equipment and part of the labor, et cetera. So that 17 number is the starting one. And then the small number is a prorated amount for the monthly fee.
Right. So if you look on the second page, that right click 794, that's that's part of the monthly fee or
Exactly.
prorated amount of the monthly fee. Okay.
Okay.
I think Jennifer, you have something for that coming up for the technology part, right?
I've got a nice
Yeah.
date.
And Jennifer, I noticed on the Chase account, there were two, I guess there were two Amazon charges. You couldn't figure out what they were.
Heidi's still looking for
Okay, it's
them.
okay. It was minimal. But you have them highlighted in yellow. That's
Yeah, it's almost always adult DVDs you pre-order. So annoying.
Okay. So any other questions on the warrants?
I'll just comment that the transfer I made reflected before the addition, so I'll add in another 15,000 transfer.
All right. Go ahead.
The payment to the auditor, the 1,100, is that the last of it then?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the warrants in the amount of $62,671.49?
I move that we approve the warrants for a total of $62,671.49.
Can I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, warrants are approved. We're going to go through committee updates. The first is finance, which was fund balance policy, which I think we've already talked about. Anything else, finance committee?
No, but we will, I'm gonna try to get a finance committee meeting scheduled before the end of the year.
Okay. Technology. Mike, Jennifer on behalf of Mike.
I'd like to cover that in the director's report. if
Okay.
that's
Sure. Governance legal, Richard.
Jennifer may be able to explain this better than I can, but we had a photo and video policy which required consent of the patrons in order to have their likeness captured. So we've proposed that we reverse that policy. Jennifer, does everybody have a copy or is it premature?
The proposed language
Yeah.
that we're going
Oh,
to.
it was circulated as part of the packet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So we flipped it and now the presumption is that you consent and you know, one hopes that it doesn't come to the alternative, but they'll see the staff and the staff will deal with it. There also was a suggestion that we post some signage essentially saying that we have a code of conduct. You can click on the QR code and here it is. I think that's fine. I think Jennifer thought that was a good idea. That's okay. Yeah. Control plus. I can just read it. It says in order, I assume. Oh, no, it's different from it's different from what we had earlier today, but let's see. This is great. This reflects what we discussed. I question whether or not we need an obey the law type notice. It should be posted to the website and I think that's enough, but Jennifer, if you and board members think that it would be useful to have such a sign, we can add that to the collection.
I kind of agree with you, Richard. If it's on our website, to me, if that's sufficient, but Lexi, you have a view?
In reviewing the patron code of conduct, I had not appreciated that it was only on the website. And I find it unreasonable to expect people to be bound by a code of conduct that's on the website when you enter the library and you have no notice that you're being bound by it. So I did a little research into stadiums and some other public places where you see by entering the stadium, you agree to be bound by, or you may be photographed, and did a quick survey as to how they handle it. And I think particularly given that the motivation behind amending the survey in part was these First Amendment audits and giving the staff something to fall back on if there is a need to say, well, you agreed to be bound by this and you're not within the confines of the patron code of conduct, that we need to be reasonable in an expectation that that code of conduct is available. And I don't think that it's reasonable for individuals to assume that they should check a website to see what they're being bound by upon entering a facility. So we talked about it. I think something to the effect of this signage that just very generally says, by entering the library, you agree to be bound, scan a QR code or ask at the circulation desk for the full policy, at least gives the staff something to say, oh, you did, you entered and it said right here, you would be bound by it. You may not have read it, but it gives more of a reasonable fallback than expecting people to go to the internet to find it.
I don't have a strong feeling either way. I mean, it's feasible? Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Got to make sure the QR code is not too small.
Right, yeah. So would it be just a
Black.
type sign? Are we going to make a plaque or? Yeah, okay.
Do we need do we need two? Because we need one at each entrance, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
that's,
well, sure.
yeah,
You're gonna do
I
it.
mean, you just end up
Yeah.
in a place where more signs on the walls and, you know, et
Correct.
cetera. But, and by the way, like, I don't know what other libraries do. I don't know if you have feedback on that, as well.
We looked at the photographic policies for Greenberg and Scarsdale and the recommendation from the American Library Association in order to put together this policy. So it's sort of an amalgamation.
So just, it says that you follow the patron code of conduct. Do you mean to add to that? And you're aware of the photography?
So, but that's in the top part here. So the bottom part is just the proposed signage and the top part here is we're adding to the patron code of conduct rather than
So
have a
code of
separate
conduct
policy.
includes photography?
Exact. That's how some of the other, we're trying to condense so we don't have 150 policies.
Okay, yeah, I didn't understand that. Thanks.
And the proposed signage language is taken directly from the New York Public Library's comparable language.
Yeah, I think my question was more on, are you aware of these other libraries having a sign when you walk in as well? Like, I've never noticed one in any one that I've been in. So but again, I'm somewhat agnostic, except I hate having more signs on our walls. But
I think the bigger libraries probably do.
okay. So I think I need a motion to approve the change in the policy.
Motion to approve the proposed language to the code of conduct policy.
Second, anyone? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
We at the same time want to strike down the old photographic policy.
Yes, we have to rescind the old policy. I don't know if I need a motion for that or not, but hey. This one seems to take the place of, so therefore it seems to be sufficient. Yes, exactly. Okay. The only other thing I wanted to raise to the governance legal, could you pull up the policy document that has all the list of policies, Jennifer? So in your, in the link is a list of all of our current policies as well as their due date for review. And I think the previous board with Jennifer's help did a great job at getting this really in a really good place. The last one left to review is the bylaws. And I'm happy, Richard and Lexi, to share with you, I've started the process, but I didn't finish it. So I'm happy I brought my notes and everything, happy to have a conversation at any point of kind of where I was. And there's a piece of why I didn't update it. But I think Jennifer and I have a good solution for that. There is when COVID happened, there was a law that was put into a place that you could attend meetings virtually, including board members. That law was written fast and I think is a little confusing. But anyways, it expires in, I think, July of 26, unless it's reenacted. And so we kept trying to put that in our bylaws. And Jennifer's suggestion is, why don't we just pull it out and write a policy so we can, delete it whenever we want. But anyway, so I'm happy to sit down with you guys and show you where we are and we can revise our bylaws. Yep. Okay, next, Jen is not here, public relations. Do you want to talk about the little book of numbers or now, or did you have something or?
Everyone see the ad for the little book of numbers? That's all I got. Yeah.
Okay.
In case you don't know what it is, here's the little book of numbers. Bob sent me an article about QR codes and how if they're too small, they don't work.
Yeah.
So I've sent that article to the person who's publishing this to see if the parameters, and if not, we'll just yank it out.
Okay.
And do about it.
Okay. And then I just want to make sure for the minutes that Selena did not show up. So, and when we do the minutes, just to make sure that we have that down. So that's program development. Anything, Jennifer, that you want to share on program development?
I do have one thing, and it's during the director's report.
Okay, great. And HR?
I am making a motion to have an executive session after this meeting. Do you have a second? That's all.
Yeah, the only other thing, and that I thought we should share is, folks may or may not have seen the, law that was passed on minimum salary for exempt employees, which has now been struck down by the court. So we don't have to do anything about that until something changes with the courts. Yeah, well, people might see things publicly, so I just wanted to make sure. Yep. Long range planning, Mike.
I think I'm going to punt that also to the director's
Director's
report,
Okay,
talking about, yeah.
okay. Parking improvement, I have yet to hear from the engineer. I email him regularly, so I will do that again. And I think we'll have to make a decision if we can't get that report updated, what we do about it. But really, I'm waiting for the updated report after we met with the town engineer with the traffic study company. So to go before a planning board, if that was our next step without having that updated is a mistake because they will send us back. So I will keep pushing them. They were short-staffed, which is the reason they're delayed. But I will continue to push him. Children,
The, sorry, did we jump over community survey?
I thought that was part of the director's report, long range planning.
It's a separate report.
Yep.
Should I go ahead and throw it up now then?
You can?
Yeah, I have to admit that part of the reason why I held back about having a long-range planning meeting is that I was confused about whether the community survey was going to inform our planning. So I didn't know which was the chicken and which was the egg there.
Okay, so as part of the new committee has gotten together to talk about the long range plan, and up came the idea of possibly doing a community survey. So I put this together based on some information that I gathered at the NILA conference and a class that I'm enrolled in. So the first thing that when my teacher talked about it was the first thing we got to do is ask why. So why are we conducting the survey? Why should community members want to respond? Got some notes. Let me just. So as the board considers conducting a community survey, I'd like to share some key considerations we need to reflect on before creating one. Our goal is to ensure that the questions we ask are meaningful, focused, and aligned with our long-term strategic goals. So again, let's ask why. We're trying to gather the feedback to improve existing services, or are we looking to measure community satisfaction or identify new needs? Understanding the why will help us ensure that we're asking the right questions. It's also important to ask why the community should care. How will the survey benefit them? That's how we need to sell it. And are we communicating how their feedback will lead to positive change? So these are all things we want to keep in mind when we're making the survey if we decide to go with the survey. We need to ask who. So are we seeking input from library users, from non-users, from everyone in the service area, parents, seniors, students? Focusing in on who we want to hear from will help the strategy for how to reach them and to get the best results. And we want to ask how. Decide the best way to gather the community feedback through accessible and engaging methods. One library printed the survey questions on a placemat and placed them at the local diner. So we could be creative. And why now? Why are we doing now? And is it too soon? Because in April, we did a survey as part of a raffle to celebrate National Library Week. The questions we asked, just see if I can get rid of that. What do you enjoy most about the library? Why is it not moving to the next thing? That's disappointing. All right, I'll exit out that. Let's see. So we did a survey for National Library Week, asking these questions. And so we want to not engage in too many surveys because we are going to give them survey fatigue. And then another question we want to ask is, what form do we want the survey to take? Is it going to be a 15-question survey, a very full one, or do we want to do a bunch of smaller ones over a longer period of time? And lastly, we want to talk about it being a community-driven survey. And in doing that, the questions, the best practices according to the New York State Library and Education is that we want to understand life over preferences. So we want to dive deeper into the type of questions to gain a true understanding of community members' lives, not just their preferences. For example, if you ask community members what programs they want, it's not going to yield what we hope it will. For example, when we did the last community survey, the big comprehensive one, the number one response for what programs would you like was technology workshops, technology classes. So I instituted 3 a week, one on Tuesday morning, one on Thursday afternoon, and one on Saturday. Nobody came to a single one. So they think they know what they want, not necessarily. So our job is to find out how they feel like in general, and then use our library expertise to fit those needs to be fulfilled, if that makes sense. So as you move forward and decide whether you'd like to do a community survey and what format that would like to take, I just encourage you to ask why, who, how, and that will yield the best results.
Thanks, Jennifer. Go ahead, Bob.
I have some thoughts on this. I start with the idea that, the library wants to be used by the community. And it's great that we can ask people who are using the library what they like about it and what they would like to see added. But to the point that I think you made, we also, in my opinion, should be reaching out to people who aren't using the library and trying to understand, why aren't they using the library? And is there something that we can do that would meet their needs better than they are today? Another point is that I'd like to better understand the planning cycle, the planning window, because at some point it becomes interesting to think about, well, what's going to be the case? If we do a survey and we do a plan, we're not going to implement it tomorrow. It's going to take time to implement. So for example, if demographics are changing, and I don't know this to be true, but if there's going to be a shift in the age groups that are coming into this library, we should understand that and plan for that accordingly. And then finally, I would suggest that when we do a survey, whether it's this one or some other survey, that survey is not the end of the story, because then you can go back if you've been able to at least get some indication of who responded to it and follow up with additional questions to narrow in on some things that may not have been captured in these kind of high level questions. I personally think it's really important, to your point, Mike, that we do the survey and capture information as input to the long-term plan.
Sorry, Val. And I think to this end, we're in the process of scheduling a long-term planning committee meeting, which will take place in the next couple of weeks. So I think that Bob makes really good points. I think that the committee, in the first instance, with Jennifer participating, will digest and go through this, and then we'll can have a fulsome conversation with the board next time.
Yeah, the one thing I would ask you guys to think about as you're meeting and talking about a survey related to the long-term plan is in, I don't remember what year, 22. We did a full survey to the entire community and maybe got 15 responses. Am I being somewhat generous? Maybe even. So to your point, Bob, trying to seek out people that don't use the library, we did it to a mailing to everybody's house. And then we did a focus group to follow up and meet in person. And this was when we were renovating the library, and maybe 7 people showed up to the focus group. So I just want us to be realistic about what you're going to get from any survey that you do. And maybe there's some other way that we can get community feedback that's not. And then I guess the last thing we did, and I know you did this survey in April that also I don't think had tons of individual responses when you look at the numbers together, because they answered they chose 5 things. The numbers look higher than it probably was. We also did do a focus group when we were planning the parking lot improvement, and one person showed up to our focus group. A resident, yeah, one person. So again, and then but I do think it's important. I happened to be with someone last weekend and mentioned that I was on the board, and they said, "Oh, I haven't been to the library in 15 years because the last time I went, things were, the carpet was gross and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Maybe you should go again. It's really pretty now." But I do think there is a group of people that maybe came when their kids were little, or came at one point and they weren't happy, and so they stopped going. And so how do we deal with that issue is something that I'd love the Long Range Planning Committee to think through.
I also think with the survey, we should, and I don't want to boil the ocean, but we should think about then doing an annual survey as opposed to like when we're going to update the strategic plan, which sometimes goes more than a year. Now there could be other focus surveys, but I do think with the response level, because it's kind of like a muscle for us as well. We can see what works, what doesn't work. We can try different things, and it gives a little more structure to the planning of it. Oh, we'll throw this and we'll throw that in, because I think there could be, to your point, changes of demographics or things or more electronics or something, right? But we can tweak it. But if we get in kind of a routine with it, I think it's something to think about if, as we go.
I just wanted to mention that some of the dialogue had to do with being interconnected with the community, which got me thinking about the fact that really the group that pays our bills is the town. So I called up the town clerk because if you type in library at the Pound Ridge website, you get a comprehensive plan from 2010. Okay, and what it says is, I think it should be fixed up. So we've accomplished that long-term plan. As far as the town is concerned, there is a comprehensive plan committee, update committee, and they don't at this point have the library in their sites. Their website says that they are going to measure community engagement, but when I checked with the town clerk, there are no immediate plans for that. The liaison to the library, the town board liaison, is a person by the name of Kevin Hansen. So as part of the discussion, I think that Kevin probably might have some input into what the community might be feeling. I personally, Jennifer has handed us a list of wish lists. I generated my own wish list. And I'll be willing to hear what people feel we can gain from a survey this soon. So I think the committee will meet and discuss the pros and cons. Thank you.
Recognizing that it's not necessarily timely right now, but have we considered?
Lexi, I can't hear you over the
Sorry.
speakers. Is your microphone on?
It is. Can you hear me now? Have we considered doing a survey at some of the town events where the library has a presence? Thinking of how Jennifer was talking about how these were a huge hit at Halloween. Granted, Halloween probably veers to a certain demographic, but if responsiveness is an issue that we've encountered with the general town population, if we pair the survey with the Harvest Festival or Halloween or other areas where the library already has a presence in the broader community, we may get better outcome in terms of responsiveness.
Yeah, and I think where Jennifer was going with this concept of being creative, this is a horrible example, but it came to mind while we were talking about it, is even, again, depending on what we're trying to gauge the community on, having just think about when you leave the bathroom in the airport, it's like, well, am I happy or sad, right? Like a very simple 3-question after a session or after, right? Just to gauge, their interest and involvement, and pick 3 things we want to know and ask very simple questions. And you can do that, to John's point, you could do it all year. You don't have to wait and do it, even once a year.
I think to Bob's point, and I agree that, Jennifer, this survey to current patrons is important, but the survey of the community who are not using the library is equally important. My thought is nobody's seen what the library looks like. Just having some kind of open house with different events might be another option.
We have also invited the town supervisor in the past to come meet with us during a board meeting. So that's something that this committee can think through. Will it be helpful to have Kevin come and talk a little bit about what's going on in the town that might have some impact for the library, and we can share some of our thoughts and vision as well.
But lastly, we can invest a little bit in the, like a little raffle, bread and bakes,
Yeah.
gift certificate or something, just to encourage the participation.
I think the idea of asking Kevin to come and talk here is a great one, but I would suggest that maybe as a prelude to that, contact Kevin, say we're having this conversation. Could a couple of us come over and visit with you for an hour and, kind of explore it informally and let him think about it and then prepare something
Yeah.
maybe to come over?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last time he came and spoke to us was when there was a movement to move the library downtown. And so we had a very open discussion around that plan. But obviously we're past that. And so it would be in everyone's best interest to have that conversation as well.
We are not too far past that. When you put library into the website, after 2010, you get a 2022 hit that they were going to apply for a grant to build a community center. And I think the library was in that plans, but the grant application never happens.
And the discussion with the Board of Trustees never happened when they were working on that grant either. But anyways, okay. Anything else on long range plan? Thank you. And children's room update.
Okay, children's room update. So in no particular order, let's see. Today an electrician was here and did some upgrading to the electricity. I think he added electrical to the 2 posts in the children's room that are going to be the where the tables are going to be built around these posts for the laptops and computers. So that's been done. The adult chairs that we ordered have arrived. So 2 really pretty colorful printed adult chairs. And I'll call it I was going to call it a love seat, the bench, the bench. So they are in, they are in our house, we would call it a love seat. In the library, it's called a bench. So they're in the room if you want to go see it. Also, Jennifer's partner, Phil, has made templates of the canopies that we're going to be hanging from the ceiling that are going to kind of look like trees. And so we have an idea of what those are going to look like. The really important part of the library, the integral part, is these curved shelves that we've ordered, and they're still a little bit delayed. We were hoping that they would kind of be here by now. Nancy at Creative Library Concepts said there's a little bit of delay now due to veneer, but Jennifer is still optimistic that they will be coming in right after Thanksgiving. And kind of the whole design of the room is based on these curved shelves. The painter is coming after Thanksgiving, I think December 8th and December 9th, Jennifer. And let's see. And then Jennifer, has a whole project management plan here regarding, work that has to be done in anticipation of everything. So there's going to be, removal of the books, consolidating the collections and breaking down the existing shelving. And all of this is going on right after Thanksgiving, that weekend after Thanksgiving. So by this time next month, we might have a new children's room to celebrate in. We could have our holiday party in there. So everything's moving along. It's going to be really nice. Of course, it wasn't as massive a project as everything else that we did, but it's going to be lovely. And so far, so good.
Thank you, Anne. All right, moving on to the director's report. Jennifer.
one thing to say about the painting. Jennifer, are you going to consult with the painter on a color? Do we need a meeting, a committee, or, okay, so you'll
I'd love it if you could be here
let us know. Okay, you'll let us know when we need to do that. Okay, thank you.
later in the week. Okay, so the director's report, it's going to do this again, really? Let's see if it works better if it's smaller. Wow. Okay, so first of all, the foundation had their event on Sunday, November 3rd. It was Awesome Autumn. And let's see. They featured local performer Kurt Gallagher in a face painting activity that delighted the children's and family alike. During the event, the foundation continued their Buy a Leaf campaign, with leaves sold to affix to the decorative tree displayed in the children's room, a meaningful way for donors to leave a visible legacy while contributing to our library's growth. Their dedication and engagement reflect the community's strong support for our library's mission. We thank them for the time and effort they dedicated to this event. The foundation grant requests. The foundation recently convened to discuss our submitted grant requests, which include the proposal for 4 digital literacy tablets and the Everbright Light feature. Board President Stephanie Sarkis reached out via email to inform me that while the foundation has not yet voted on the 2 grant requests, they anticipate having a decision after their next scheduled meeting in December. We remain optimistic. Okay. The sensory room, we've moved the old furniture from the children's room down there, and it's really made the room feel more cozy. You can see here the chairs, the beanbags, and this is the room set up during a STEM program. So you can see that the space has proven to be highly adaptable, versatile, accommodating a variety of programs and activities with us. This one really was more for Selena, but she's not here because it's on programming. We recently went through a huge glitch with the website as far as the events calendar goes, and what we've realized that we really don't need to do registration requirement for the smaller everyday recurring programs as those that are listed here. So unless there's a problem with that, we had a program or an agreement that we're going to have registration for every single program, but I'm going to suggest that we rescind that. We will continue to require registration for our more popular events, such as music with Kurt Gallagher, Saturday specials, holiday specials, that kind of thing. So just more of an FYI. Okay, so there's an opportunity that's come up. Governor Kathy Hochul announced an $80 million in capital funding is now available to nonprofit arts and cultural organizations through the New York State Council on the Arts Capital Project Fund. Based on the criteria outlined for eligibility, and given our annual budget is under $2 million, our library would qualify for no match grants ranging between $10,000 and $99,000. My proposal for this funding focuses on upgrading the audio setup in the Schaffner room to include video capabilities and eliminate the dependence on handheld microphones and this very octopus kind of thing we've got going on here. As only 501c3 organizations are eligible to apply for this grant, the library itself is not qualified to apply directly. However, our foundation is eligible, and I wonder if the board is interested in approaching the foundation about this.
So Jennifer and I talked about this, and I'd love a conversation here because I have some reservations. I have no problem talking to the foundation and asking them to apply. My concern is, and I'm going to make up numbers, let's pretend the cost is $75,000 and the foundation applies for a $75,000 grant and we get a $20,000 grant. Who's paying for the remainder of that $55,000? Is that something we're prepared to pay for and commit to? Are we going to have to ask the foundation to be prepared for that if we don't get the full grants money? And so I just think there's some considerations. It's not that we can't do it, but I think we need to have a plan for, we have an example in the town recently with the water district, right? Kevin put in for a larger grant and he only got $7 million. The remainder of that money is going to be split by that tax district. And so we could only get $1,000. We could get 50, like we have no idea what we're going to get. And so I just think we need to pre-plan that. We can't just ask them to apply for the grant, they apply for the grant, and then suddenly we're in a situation where we don't know what to do because we don't have enough funding to do the entire thing. So that was kind of my concern that I thought we should talk through.
My input based on my report is that this is clearly a capital improvement. And so our endowments clearly cover this. And I would feel comfortable, certainly, whatever the shortfall was, to use endowment money to cover this. This is definitely on my wish list. Anybody who's participated in a Zoom taking place in this room would have this on their wish list, believe me.
So as I understand it, when we put in a grant, it has to be very specific, exactly what we want with numbers attached. And let's say the numbers come to 65,000, but the grant people have a right to only give us part of that if they deem so. Okay.
I don't know a lot about grant stuff, but I would imagine that if we're putting together the detail that Dan describes, it's kind of a line item. And could one in a grant application say that, the line items are prioritized and we'll use the money in that order?
So the most recent grant we got was to help fund some of the roof, but we prepaid for the roof and then we submitted a grant request and they paid for less than the full roof cost. One of the parameters that often the groups that give out these grants is they consider the wealth of your community and they consider a whole bunch of things, which is also why often Pound Ridge is not going to get the full amount of a grant request. However, if no one else applies for the grant, right, you have a better chance of getting more money. And so there's just no way to predict what we're going to get. And then I think there's another piece which is potentially solvable, but we'd have to ask we can't apply for this grant. So the foundation would be the one applying for the grant and they'd have to obviously agree to do that.
Yeah, I think going for grants are great. I like any money that doesn't come from our budget. But I also feel like if we don't know we're getting the money, then the money is not there. So when we pick these projects similar to the children's room, if we had to pay for all of that, we were going to do it, right? Without whether we got help from the foundation or not. So that's the kind of commitment level we have to do when we're going to take on these kind of projects. Now, if you're saying we can hear in a month and there you said we'll pay for half of it, then we know kind of what the parameters are and we can decide if we want to spend out of the capital account or not, if it's worth it. But like if it is 75,000 to just get better sound, I don't know that I want to commit to that right now, with everything else we spent. But if we're going to get it paid half of it, maybe, that's a deal. So I want to make sure that that's, in our thinking. I also think just administratively, the foundation should be doing this. So I'm happy to get them on board and they should be doing it, but that doesn't mean you're doing it. So I just want to be careful that because I do think that you don't want to get cute about are we raising money or not and the lines there. So happy to pull them in, train them, tell them, help them, give them whatever information they need, but they should be the ones that are kind of driving this if they're, committed to their mission here and helping us get it.
I'm still confused about something. If the grant was going to be this, the foundation applied for 75,000.
I'm sorry, Bob, can you hold your microphone a little closer?
Sure. If the foundation applied for a $75,000 grant and only $25,000 was granted, does that necessarily mean that we have to reach into our pocket to spend the remaining $50,000? Or couldn't it be that, we want to do this room in 3 pieces And the first piece is 25,000, and the second piece is 25,000, and the third piece is 25,000. And we do the first piece when the grant money arrives, and then the others are not committed and not spent, but
I
on a
think
wish list.
I think it depends, right? So I'm gonna just make stuff up because I love doing that. It could be that a screen is $25,000 and therefore we get the grant money and we just put up a really pretty screen, but we don't change our microphone situation, right? So to me, my recommendation, Jennifer and I talked about this, is we should go get bids to do everything we could possibly want for this room, which we've, I think, done before, but we'll do it again, and see what it comes out to be. Yep. And we've talked about this at length over the years because many of us have been in many big rooms where the acoustics are phenomenal and you don't have to do this. And we do have some issues. I know the picture up there has mics on a table. We're not going to put mics on the table because we move our tables, right? So there's a whole bunch of conference rooms. Sometimes you see that, right? Where they're built into the table. That doesn't work for us. So anyways, I think the next step is to go get folks to give us an estimate based on what we want. And then we'll go from there. When's the date of the grant, Jennifer?
It's in January. It's not very far away.
Okay.
And they are very specific about you can't just like add a component to an
Yeah.
existing thing. You have to do the whole.
Yep. Okay. So then my other suggestion is that that we have a conversation with the foundation now, because they're having a meeting in December. I'd at least rather find out in December if they would even consider applying for the grant. Now, that doesn't mean, to Mike, your point, that we may decide we'd spend this money ourselves, right? Depending on how much. If it only costs 20,000, I'm probably in. I don't think it is. I think it's 75. And then the other piece that I want everyone to remember is we do have this like big, elephant in the room, which is this concept of a parking lot. So, which is money that we've talked about spending. We haven't agreed to anything yet, but it's been ongoing since, Richard, you were here before, and it's still ongoing. So to me, we've got to, at some point, we have to prioritize if we're the ones paying for all this stuff. So Jennifer, I'd say if we want to go out and start getting quotes, and then I'm happy to reach out to Stephanie Sarkis at the foundation and at least find out if this is something they might be interested in. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Okay, I don't know if anyone had a chance to look in the PowerPoint for rebranding of library cards. This is something I'm really jazzed about. Let's see. I have to do this piecemeal. Sorry about that. So as part of our commitment to better connect with and reflect the unique character of our community, I propose rebranding of our library cards. The initiative seeks to maintain the iconic library logo for continued brand recognition. Let me show you what I've got for that. So first of all, here's our current card. And I just think it's lacking something that would really make it stand apart, and it's served its purpose and everything, but I think we can do better. So here would be an example of what I had in mind by keeping the logo, but embracing a bigger picture as part of it. I envisioned offering a choice of 3 different cards to each age group. So for example, this might be one that we would offer to adults. It would really capture the essence of Pound Ridge and use iconic scenes. We could use photographs or paintings as our images. We could do something with local flora or fauna, which I think would be very resonant, really resonate with our community. We could also go with a literary theme. Just a few examples. Mystery, noir, arts and culture. And let's not leave out the kids. Could do something with dragons for the little ones. robots. This is a bit of literary and kid-friendly. It's graphic novels for fans of the Shire. And for the older kids who think those other ones are for babies, something a little bit more edgy and dark. And something AI. So in short, by reimagining its design, we honor the traditions while embracing the diverse needs of our patrons. And this rebranding will strengthen our connection with the community, enhance our visibility, and ensure that every cardholder feels valued and represented. I encourage you to take this opportunity to continue to innovate and evolve in service to our community. I was wondering how the board felt about that.
I think they're pretty. I love carrying like pretty cards with me. But you know what I think of? Half the time I never have like what I need on me, and I can show something on my phone. So if we ever thought of like a digital library card also, I'm just curious. And do kids actually carry around their cards with them?
What they would do is keep them in a box on the children's room desk. So every time they come, they can get their card. But I think they're so cool that they want to keep them personally.
Yeah, no, they're very pretty. I mean, but and you know, and I don't know what the cost would be. I guess I'm looking at it right now. But in addition to this, is there the possibility of ever having a digital card on your phone? Like when you go to another library, it would be very handy. I mean, I hate carrying those CVS cards with me and Walgreens.
So there is a WLS app right now, and it's about to be changed. It's very old-fashioned analog kind of thing, and it won't be anything as special as what I'm proposing, of course. But there is the possibility, if we wanted to invest in, we could get our own app. For example, Greenberg has their own app, and that app could have our own branded library card on it. It would be an investment more than these cards would be, but still. So, okay, so maybe you want to think about that.
This may be a question for later rather than now, but what would be the specific implementation of this? We were communicating about, would there be a single card designed for kids of a certain age? Or would each kid get to choose their own from a big catalog?
I envision offering as many as 6 cards to the children. And as many as 3 cards, maybe more to the adults. Everyone loves choices and ones that they think represent their personality. I think they would really bond with it and therefore bond with the library. So I really think of it as a community building.
And if we offered 6 cards, does that mean that we have to buy 6 times X?
We
cards?
would, but as you can see, the difference between in price for, let me just go to that. The difference in price for 500 cards versus 1,000 cards is minimal. So you might as well go with 1,000. And then, you just multiply that times however many cards we want to get. So it'd be a big one-time investment, but it would be a long-term, because to go through 1,000 cards or 500 cards would take a really long time.
So within the 1,000 cards, you can mix and match and have 6 different designs.
I think it would be each design.
I'm surprised. I
But I'll
didn't.
find out. I
Yeah.
didn't know if there was any interest at all before I spent the time to go.
Usually when you're involved in full color printing, the cost is in the setup. So that I think we have to look into that.
So is,
For what, well, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Rich.
Well,
go
just
ahead.
what more do you need from us? I don't think we necessarily need to let this linger. Unless we need a committee to decide on library card designs, which I don't think any of us think. So, and go ahead. Rich,
No,
jump in.
I think it's a cool idea. So what we would order them, and then as people came in, you would say, we're changing our library cards. Here's a selection. Which one would you like? It's not like our name is, the patron's name isn't printed on it. You just have a new a new
It would
library
just
card,
be a
and then
design, right.
we could put on Instagram or whatever, come on in and get your new library card
Definitely. I
kind of
think
thing.
Bob Rich
Okay.
suggested that we could do a vote in the community. We're considering these 10 cards to help us pick the three, that kind of thing. Yeah, it is underneath the 1,500 spending limit. So I just didn't want to just walk in one day and, whatever. But I have been doing an informal poll at the circulation desk, and I've got nothing but raves about the idea. Nobody was like, no, I want to keep.
Yeah, to me, it's about what we think patron, like, honestly, like, I don't care what my credit cards look like. I don't care but a lot of people do, right? And they do fancy credit cards and fancy checks. I do blue checks, whatever. So we're all different. So look, I think if you think it's something that would be beneficial and will, change the branding, I'm supportive. I'm happy with my old card, but that's fine.
Great. Okay. Thank you for listening to that. And then I would like to propose extending our operating hours. Starting in January, I'd love to offer an evening, Thursday evening until 8 o'clock. We used to open on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 8 o'clock. We're very limited as what we can do with staff due to civil service, but I think, worked out a situation where we can have our Saturday person come in for 4 extra hours. And that won't go over the limitations that we currently have. I'm really excited about the idea of being able to offer evening programs, particularly my book group, which is popular. But I've had people that want to come, but can only come in the evening. So that would be, one of the 4, Thursday nights that we could do, but we could try some other stuff, whether it's board game night or whatever it might be. I'd love to hear what the community would say about that. So that would require a vote on your part, I believe.
Just curious, so what is the staffing that then would be involved?
Susan goes home early on Tuesdays and Thursdays when it's her shift at 4 o'clock because of the time change, and she doesn't like to drive at night. So her hours would be reduced by exactly the same amount that Madison would be increased. So we would be going over our civil service limits, which is 1 full-time person, 37.5, which is split between 3 people. That
So
makes
it-
sense?
So at 5 o'clock, it will be you and Madison.
Correct.
Yeah, and just know that that's the one thing that we'd have to think through, Jennifer, which I'm sure you have, is Jennifer's on vacation for a week.
Okay.
And so are we asking Hannah or Alan to work Thursday night, and therefore do they have to work those, whatever, 2 hours less on another day to be at
Right.
37.5 hours?
Right. We usually stagger it. So the people who would work, some would work 10 to 6 and the other ones would work noon to 8. But yeah, there will be situations like that. So we'll.
Really minor point, but we sometimes have board meetings on Thursday nights. I'm very bad at scheduling logistics, but that's something that we should, think about.
Yeah, I think it'd be a half an hour, right? If we meet at 7:30, there'd be a half an hour range where other people could potentially. So the one thing we'd have to be careful of is room, if this room if a program, right, has been scheduled for this room. I just thought of this, I shouldn't say it. Have we, I don't remember ever having this discussion. Have we ever considered having our board meetings in what's now the sensory room instead? And maybe the acoustics are better, and maybe we could put a system in there that would, I don't know. I just thought of that as I was thinking of overlap of meeting space.
We could also scrap the full projection screen and just do everything on paper. I mean, anything's possible.
No. But I think that room is smaller, so the acoustics are probably better. We would still need something, right?
My
But
concern would be accessibility if we get a
Yeah,
person on the
okay.
board who's disabled.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Down.
Okay.
But
My suggestion was for the next meeting in this room, we move the table up, we move our tables closer to the screen so it's easier to read, because I mean, I can read that.
Yeah.
But the other things are really.
Okay, I'm fully supportive. Jennifer and I have debated hours since the first 5+ years. I'm fully supportive in trying to see how Thursday evenings work with the staff. Obviously, there are going to be times when it's going to be a challenge. We just publicly noticed that we're closing the library at 6 that day, right? I mean, you know, if people are sick or out or whatever. So I don't know if we need a motion to change our hours. I think we have a policy on hours, so we probably do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to add Thursday evening to the open hours for the library up until 8 p.m.,
Starting in January.
starting in January 2025.
Do I have someone seconding it? Bob? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Jennifer, it's not Sunday, it's not Monday, but you get 2
I'll
hours
get
on
there.
Thursday.
Take what I can get. All right, so just wanted to let you know that this year's Halloween walk was a memorable and enjoyable evening, made all the more special by the pleasant temperate weather. Heartfelt thank you goes out to our library representatives, Hannah and Jocelyn, for their wonderful work handing out candy and giveaways to all the trick-or-treaters, and their presence and enthusiasm greatly contributed to this event success. I mentioned about the sensory balls. We're definitely going to order them for next year, I think. Okay, donations. I wanted to recognize the generous donations of 2 patrons, Norman Sr., who donated $250 to, quote, recognize the service of Bonnie Schwartz and Michael Clark, and Claire Gina Castro, who donated $20 to show her appreciation for the mindfulness meditation and yoga Zoom classes. Their thoughtful contributions will reflect the meaningful impact that our library services and dedicated trustees have on our community. We are deeply grateful for their generosity.
And as you all might have seen in the Dropbox, we do send a thank you note to everyone who makes donations. So Jennifer has started that as well,
And
which
I
is
need
great.
to sign
Sign
that,
some.
but
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, great. So something's come up recently, and I was wondering how the board would feel about going fine-free. Currently, 24 out of the 38 libraries in the Westchester Library System are fine-free, reflecting a growing national trend. Many of our patrons have figured out that they can circumvent fines by borrowing materials from neighboring libraries, fine-free libraries, indicating that fines may no longer be an effective means of encouraging returns. Moving to a fine-free model would align with the evolving best practices to promote equitable access for all community members, in keeping with the American Library Association's recommendation. Eliminating fines increases access and equity by removing barriers for patrons who struggle with fines, encourages patron loyalty by reducing the fear of accumulating fines, shifts the focus from penalties to service, and improves return rates, as studies show that patrons are more likely to return items on time without the stress of fines. Some libraries do pilot programs to test the waters, and I was wondering what here is what we've collected over the last few years in fines.
2019, we collected $1,700 and change.
I know, I was
That's
surprised by that.
crazy. Yeah. I
And
mean, because
here's
it's not, you don't really pay a lot when a book is that late.
No,
Ten-
I don't know why that particular year was so high. You can see it's an anomaly.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even know we collected even $500 and $600. I mean, I noticed on what you included in the documents, some libraries have fines for certain things and not others, and there seemed to be a common denominator. A lot of them had fines for if museum passes come back late. Does that happen here as a rule? Okay,
Not
Yeah.
generally. We do
Yeah.
have a $10 fine. Like,
we do. Okay. All right.
Most of the stuff that the other libraries have are not fine free on are things like hotspots, laptops, that kind of thing. We've had laptops and hotspots for lending, and nobody took them out. So
A question on procedure. I get an email that says your books are coming due. Are there memory jogs for non-emailers? Do we send out postcards or letters or anything like that?
we do not. We're trying to collect everyone's email so that we have all of that, especially since we're trying right now through the WLS executive board, we're trying to put in place through a third-party vendor an address verification and automatic online registration. So you don't have to come into the library. And it has caused the hugest amount of controversy you can't imagine. But this one, like I said, it's a pretty, this seems to be the trend that where everything is going.
How does it work though? If I take a book out and I just keep it, and then I come in for another book, is it going to be flagged that says, "Hey, you haven't returned this book"? You're not charging me a fine, but you're not going to let me just keep taking out books, right?
Eventually, after 30 days overdue, the book would be considered lost. And you would have to pay the replacement cost of the book or bring the book back, and you would be unable to take out more books until that had been addressed.
Okay.
That makes sense?
You know, one good thing WLS does, Mike, what you were talking about when you get the email, if a book is eligible for renewal, they just automatically renew it for you.
Depending on which library.
Right, okay, because I get that, and that's kind of nice too. But if it's a recent release and it's only 2 weeks, that doesn't happen, but they will automatically do it for you, and I guess in certain cases.
Unless somebody's got a hold on it. Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it would cause trouble, but I see this as like in the, a big announcement. Library has gone fine free. I mean, I think that's going to be a big plus. I personally support this. Yeah.
So the question is, do we want to do it as a pilot for 90 days or do we want to just go with it? Anyone have a view?
You can always pull it back if you decide to.
Go with it?
Okay, I make a motion. Wait,
Can we go fine?
oh, then we go fine free as a policy.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, let's do it. I do think we have a policy or we have something on the website about fines, so obviously we'll need to update that.
I will look into that.
Thank you. And I do think it's important that that includes the charge if you never return your book. She's proving her technical difficulty so that we pay for a new system.
Wondering if I could go into a different folder. And then back into this one, if it'll behave. Please don't do this. That's it. Okay, update on the IT changeover. The new, where am I here? Verizon and Optimum have installed their equipment, and Right Click Services has set up new equipment for testing pending rack installation once WLS removes their hardware. The changeover awaits Equinox VPN setup, whatever that means, testing to coordinate migration with WLS, while the new computers are ready to replace the old units. So it's very exciting. Something did come up while we were going through IT changeover, and that's that there's been some interest in being able to forward your trustee emails to, say, your personal inbox or your work inbox, so you don't have to remember to go and check your trustee box. I contacted WLS because we weren't able to make that happen. It was blocked by the administrator. And WLS said that personal email should never be used for work purposes and is a security risk. As such, WLS does not provide support for forwarding to a personal account. We could change our email maintenance and support to Right Click Services. They would be able to accommodate that. But before you decide to do that, it's meant for convenience for end user, but you're now taking business email and forwarding contents to an external account over which you have no control. So the Right Click Services just says, I think you must weigh the security risks. Are there any interest in switching providers, or do we want to just abandon?
From a legal perspective, I just don't think you should be using your personal email for your business here. I mean, we did for a really long time and it's a mistake. We still have risk right now, not just security risk, but litigation risk, where we'd have to turn over your entire I'd have to turn over everything in my personal email because that's where it's stored, right? So I prefer that we don't have that issue.
All right, moving along. Again, like, okay, so coming soon, the new middle grade Nook. Let's see. We are excited to announce the development of our new middle grade Nook designed for ages 10 through 14 who are transitioning beyond the children's room, but not yet ready for young adult materials. To make space, we are weeding out books on CD and installing outlets for shelf lighting, plants, and unique elements like a lava lamp, creating a welcoming and engaging environment for this key age group. This is for the ones that feel that they're too old for the children's room, and please don't call them tweens. So I put Hannah in charge of this. She bought all the decorations and everything. We had an outlet installed today by the electrician to accommodate the, and it should be a really cozy, nice space for this transitioning group.
Where is this going to be?
Sort of where the teen area is. They're going to kind of share the teen area. So all the stuff that's on the shelving that goes around the chimney, all those CD books, they just don't go out anymore at all, ever. So I thought we'd give it a new life. Okay, and I just wanted to remind you that trustees are all required to complete 2 hours of trustee training in 2024. Bob, Lexi, and Richard, you have 1 year from when you were brought onto the board, but the rest of the trustees, just a reminder, you only have until the end of December. I do include a list and the links to all of the approved providers in every board meeting package. Please send me your proof of attendance before year end. Are there any questions on anything I've gone over? Okay, that was a lot. So thank you all for listening. That's it from me.
Any?
Oh, one more thing.
yeah.
So I just wanted to tell you, I'm on that community plan update committee, and I wrote the library section, and it's very positive. It does seem to be stalled. I think I'm the only person who's turned in their section, and that was like a year ago. So I don't know what the holdup.
And this is going to out me to say that I do use other libraries, but those, if one is interested, the Lewisboro Library has an online survey that you can take without being a patron of the library. You might want to look at some of the questions there.
Okay, any new business? Going once.
Actually, a good segue from what we just talked about. When I began doing my training, I came across a paragraph or two embedded someplace. That training is rather voluminous and goes on, but someplace in there's a paragraph that says that it's best practices to have an ethics requirement for the Board of Trustees. Each trustee should sign an ethics statement. And I went back through and checked the materials when I was elected to the board. I didn't see anything, and maybe I overlooked it. But I wondered, do we have an ethics document someplace, and did I just forget to sign it?
You're absolutely right. We should have one. It's in the New York State Trustee Handbook, and I will speak to my professor about getting that.
Any other new business? Public remarks?
Hi, it's Emily Forbes from the Library Foundation. I can't figure out why my video won't work, but here we are. I just wanted to thank Jennifer and the library for all of their help with our event on November 3rd. It was a huge success. All of the kids and the families that attended had a great time. We're selling the leaves, so if you have friends or family who might be interested in buying a leaf, there's a QR code on the desk at the main circulation and in the children's room. And I think we're going to be in the recorder this week, or we were last week. And Jennifer, I'll reach out to you about maybe doing a social media post to see if we can encourage some more donations for that project. But we're very pleased to hear that the children's room is moving along, and we can't wait to see the finished product.
Great. Thank you, Emily.
Of course, our pleasure.
Okay, with that, we are going to adjourn the regular meeting. We'll take a 2-minute break and then come back in executive session.